Hey there, Tubanites. It's your friendly neighborhood flash in the pan. Today, in our Keeping Your Hands Busy series, I promise we'll get back to the range eventually. I got a couple things coming in the mail, weather, blah, 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 all this stuff, life. We'll get back there eventually. We'll get back to our regularly scheduled gun content. In the meantime, we're keeping our hands busy. Today, I'm going to show you how I build little electrical outlet lights slash really just phone chargers. They're just adding plugs to a more accessible location. There's 1,000 different versions of this, you know, industrial art, I think they call it, or something like that, or industrial stuff like that. Anyways, all we're doing, I'll roll in a couple pictures of stuff that I've made in the past. Trying to keep the cost down on this one, so I went a little on the cheaper side, which I should have been doing to begin with. These really don't need to be as expensive as they are. I think I spent just a little over $40 to get all this stuff, plus I have the wood laying around for the base piece on this particular one. We're going to use kind of a thicker 2x4 piece, maybe a more original actual 2x4 piece. We're going to start, I'm actually going to start on this. I'm going to sand it down. I'm going to take our flange piece, that will be our base. I'm going to get our holes pre-drilled to mount that, sand this, and then I'm going to put a base coat of white down, and then we'll paint it another coat later, and I'll show you why we put that base coat down. So you need, the sizes vary. I was able to find a 3/4 inch flange piece, floor flange, what do they call it? Yeah, floor flange, 3/4 inch. And then to go between that and our box, we have a 3/4 inch box spacer, which is that little dingus there. Then we have our actual box and the cover that we're going to use. This is just a little duplex box. I just got the cheaper one. The handy boxes are a little more expensive. They have the rounded edges, but I thought I'd save $2. We have our light switch and outlet. Again, I just went for the little 15 amperes. We're not freaking running the house off of this. One thing that did save me a lot of money this time is I went with the outdoor kind of wet location lamp holders, but you can take this rubber piece out. In the past, what I would do is I would piece together, you can go to the lamp section and buy just the part that holds the bulb, and then of course you got to put all the fittings and stuff to fit that into your box, and that's actually where you spend a fair amount of money. This thing was like $4.50, so I'm hoping, I haven't checked this yet, I should do that before we get started, but if I take this rubber piece off, a normal bulb should fit in there. These are just little lock nuts to help hold our lamp holder on the top. You can, in this case, because we're installing an outlet, I recommend that you buy the 3-prong plug so that you have a ground. If you were building just the lamp version of what you saw a picture of, you don't necessarily have to have that. You can just go and buy just the 2-wire for lamps. They can have a specific type. A lot of times they will have just the, you know, the wire-in unit or whatever, but for whatever reason this is cheaper. So this is just like an 8-foot extension, just a single plug. So all I'm going to do is cut that out, and that will be my wire. In this case, I went with a clamp to secure our wire in the back. You can use oh, what do they call those dang things? Use them all the dang time, and now my mind's blank. Anywho's, the little rubber grommet thing that... Anyways, somebody will correct me or I'll correct myself in the comments down below, but there's other ways to clamp your wire in there to make sure that you're not pulling it out. But that's how we did that. So, I'm gonna go ahead and pre-drill, like I said, sand this down, pre-drill it, get that base coat of white on it started, and once we get that done or started, I'll move the camera somehow so you can see what it is that I'm doing whilst working. So stick around. Okay, we've got our base piece over there drying, our base coat of white. I got that nice and sanded. I got my floor flange holes pre-drilled. What we're going to do now, I'm going to move the camera, move you, to where hopefully you can kind of sort of see what I'm doing. I'm not going to like record the whole time. I'm just going to explain real quick what I'm doing and kind of go on from that. I don't want this to be another freaking 20-minute video. Probably end up being that anyway, but here we are. Alright, let me move you, come back. Alright, hopefully you can see okay, hear okay. So on these boxes, what's cool about them is they have options. You have 1/2 inch holes or 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch holes. Our base plate, or our base piece, is 3/4 inch. So all I do is I just take kind of a janky old screwdriver, and you're just going to set it on where that hole is, and then just pop it, well, or not, make a liar out of me. Man. Gotta get the old Tanya Harding out, in the words of Vice Grip Garage. There we go. So that got the 1/2 inch one out. So then you just kind of fold it back and forth until she snaps off like that. Then this other hole, you can usually get this in and just lift up just like that. There you go. So that's that. Now I'm going to take our box spacer piece and put it in that hole. Pretty straightforward. Unthread that. They make special little wrenches to tighten these lock nuts. You don't have to buy them. They are very useful. I have them at work. I do not have them at home. But all you really need, you can either use a screwdriver, or if you have channel locks, which I do, just tighten that on there. You can usually hold it with your finger. If not, you can stick a screwdriver in there, but nice and snug. Most likely will not need this piece, or this particular lock nut going into our base, but we'll have to see, because if you want it to sit just so inside there, you can use this to adjust that. So we'll leave it on there for now. On the top, we have a 1/2 inch, because this is a 1/2 inch device, so we're going to knock out that and put this in up there. You don't need to watch that. I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, so that's going to look like that. We used one of our spare lock nuts to hold this inside part. You had to keep the one that came with it on top so that this didn't slide all the way through. Tighten that up just like we did this guy. Now we have one more hole that we need to put in for our power source. So this guy will have to come through something. This, the one I bought, is a 3/4 inch, our clamp, wire clamp type, is a 3/4 inch hole, so we will have to pick one of these bigger ones to go through. I will probably go with the lower one. So I will put all that in, bring you back when we're done. Okay, we've got that in. Also, while you were gone, I confirmed that our bulb will fit, no problem. So now I'm going to take our power cable. I'm going to cut this female end off. I usually leave like a good 3-4 inches of wire, and I save these because I do other weird stuff with electricity that I don't recommend trying at home. But that's all I'm going to do, is just cut them. I'm going to show you. Wire strippers, or diagonal side cutters. Not allowed to say the other, what they're actually called. But yeah, I just hold on to these. You can do other stuff with them. Then I will strip this out, slide it in here, tighten these holes. That should cinch it. And then we'll get to wiring. I'll bring you back when we're there. Alright, this is kind of the, I won't say the tricky part. If you know what you're doing, this is simple. I'm going to assume that you have some sort of knowledge to do this yourself anyway, so I'm not going to go too far in depth. Our power, our incoming power from our plug is going to go, so if you don't know, Black is your hot, or the source of your electricity. White is your neutral or your return. Ground is a safety. It's kind of a backup neutral of sorts, but it's really there as a safety device. So on your outlet, gold will be your hot, so your black. Silver will be your white, so your neutral, and green will be your ground. So all I'm going to do is I like to use crimps. You don't have to. These have space in them. If you buy the more expensive ones, they have little things, but you can wire this up without these. I just think it looks neater and it's more reliable. So I'm going to crimp my wire ends. I'm going to land my hot here, neutral here, and ground here. I'm going to hook in the neutral from the outlet, the socket on the other side of my neutral, because it's a shared bus. And I'm going to do the same thing for the power source for our switch that will then go to the hot side of the light. I can show you all this when we're done, but it's pretty simple. So this is the other side of the hot is going to jumper over to this switch that will then feed this switch. The neutrals will all tie together. Pretty simple stuff. Any questions? Cool. I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, stay with me here. I'll try and give you a shot here. So here is our incoming power right here. Okay, that goes to our bottom gold, linked to our top gold, which you do need a little bit of extra wire. So I have a little black wire that jumps from the other side of the hot side of your outlet over to the bottom side of my switch. Top side of the switch is then run to the lamp, and then on the neutral side you can see I have both my neutrals, one from the lamp and one from the power source, landed on the neutral side of our outlet, and then our ground is attached here. If you get, a lot of people will run grounds everywhere. That's what this little hole in the back here is for. I don't have any of those screws. I should have bought some. I also did not run a wire to this either. All of these are interconnected, so this metal here is going to be touching the same metal that this is. It's going to be touching, it's all grounded, so don't freak out. That being said, I am not an electrician, but I do this a lot at work and it's perfectly safe. One last thing I'm going to do before I mount these to the cover plate is I like to wrap tape around all of these connections just so nobody can stick their fingers in there or anything like that. It's just one of those things that you do, kind of a feel-good measure. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to put these on the face plate and I'll bring you back when all of that is done. Okay, now for the scary part. Everything is assembled. I threw that on just to get it on there for now. We'll have to mount this to that base plate when it's done. I'll bring you back when all it's done. We'll do a whole completely finished. Well, I got to show you how I do the sanding and whatnot on the distressed look for the base plate anyway. But we're going to go ahead and do a quick function test. So, take our plug. Oh, scary part. And light check. Cool, light works. Grab my sander. Plug that in. Try that. Sorry about the dust. Everything seems to work. We'll try both plugs just for giggles. I don't know why they wouldn't work, but there we go. Function check done. So I will bring you back once I get the other color painted on our base plate, and I will show you how I distress that to give it kind of a worn. It's our interior. Part of our interior is like a beach vibe, so I'll show you how I give it kind of a worn beach look, worn faded beach look kind of thing. So I'll bring you back for that. Okay, so this is our painted base piece. Obviously this is not going to be our end state. That's the whole reason we did the white base coat. So what I'm going to do is I usually get like an old piece of sandpaper or something like that, and I will kind of start to scuff this until the white paint shows through. It's usually you just hit the high spots and that white will start to come through. Sometimes you'll even go through and hit bare wood. But the whole point is to kind of give it, so this is more of a beach vibe, so like you get that kind of sand-blasted, kind of old age wood that's been out in the weather kind of thing. That is what the boss ordered, so that is what the boss shall get. So I'm just going to grab, like I said, a piece of sandpaper and just start fading that in. I will bring you back and show you kind of the end result, and then we'll get everything mounted up. and we'll show you the finished piece. Stick around. I can't remember if I said earlier, but I did not pre-sand any of this except maybe to knock down the roughest of edges. The whole point is so you can have some high spots like this that'll really give it some character when you get to sand it all in there. And again, like I said, you can use new sandpaper. You just got to go lighter on it with your hand. I kind of like to have older sandpaper so it doesn't take off too much at once and get too far ahead of you. So like even some of these spots here, this is a really high spot where it got really back down to bare wood, and there's other spots like that, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me so much. I think it gives it a lot of character. It knocks down a lot of the shine if you use a glossy paint, and just kind of ages it, gives it that character. So let me get the base plate put down and I'll bring you back and show you the final piece. Well, there you have it. It is the finished product. Just wanted to show you that the light works, so turn that back on so you can actually see it. But turned out pretty good. Didn't take a whole long. The longest time obviously is painting, letting that dry, sanding it down, 2 layers of paint, of course different colors, sanding it. That's really the longest patch of time that it really takes. As far as constructing the light itself, you saw most of that on video. It doesn't take very long. If you actually sat down and just hammered it out, it'd probably take you 20 minutes, 25 if you're familiar. Relatively inexpensive. Of course, I already had the wood, I already had the paint, sandpaper. So that would add a little onto the cost if you didn't already have those things, or you could have done it much more simpler. I opted for a little more fancy, if you will. But if you wanted to build just this and just strap it onto some chunk of wood, it was, like I said, it was about somewhere between $40 and $50. I want to say $42, $43. There may be a cheaper way to build it. Of course, I also opted for the bigger box. As you saw in the pictures, I have one where it's just the light switch and the light. Obviously, there's different options for shades. This is going to be a temporary bulb. I'm going to try and get something a little brighter. But that's it. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for hopefully our regularly scheduled gun content. Take care.